Don't be surprised if in the next few months you start to see the word Maquis start to work its way into the lexicon of the North American mainstream media. They're already alluding to it in European reports. Now, just to be clear, they're not talking about my channel, the Florida Maquis. They're talking about the original Maquis from World War II, the resistance fighters from France and Spain. Now, some of you might recognize the name from Star Trek. In multiple instances throughout their franchises, they have this group of freedom fighters that are resisting different types of tyranny all across the galaxy. One thing they got very right was most of the leaders of the resistance groups are female. And this is something that history doesn't talk about a lot. Also, the series Colony that we've talked about here almost ad nauseum, Season 3, Episode 1 is titled Maquis. Of course, the family has to leave the city and go live out in the woods and run for their lives. The real story of the Maquis, though, is a lot seedier and a lot worse than people know. That's why a lot of those who survived didn't like to tell the stories of what it was necessary to do to defeat the Germans. There are some great books that you can read. Rise of the Maquis, The Night Belongs to the Maquis, and SAS with the Maquis. All available on Amazon, all very inexpensive. It will give you an insight. Now, we are going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the realities of the Maquis and what you might see start to begin happening in Eastern Europe. They're talking about Ukraine resistance fighters and infiltrating different units and doing what they can to resist. It's not all what you see in the video games. Sometimes it's quite a bit worse. And that's why we have a Patreon channel. $1 per month, the lowest possible allowable level. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. And if it's too much, if it's too racy, too adult, within 90 days, you can inbox me over there and say, Florida Maquis, I'd like my dollar back. No problem. Done it for plenty of people. However, in today's video, main topic, pardon me, they are telling a half-truth about this no-fly zone issue. I'm sure many of you are out there. It's like, Florida Maquis, we can't have the U.S. military institute a no-fly zone. That means that we might have to shoot down a Russian jet, and that would start World War III. That would be it right there. That would be a declaration of war. Guys, that's not the truth. It's not the truth. We've already declared war. Now, this is defensenews.com. These sanctions, these crippling sanctions, costing Russia millions, billions of dollars, far more damaging than any one aircraft or any one pilot being shot down. You see, it's not that. They have a goal. They have an agenda. And the agenda is this: get rid of the U.S. military. What are you saying, Maquis? They want to defeat the people in Washington, D.C. right now. They want to defeat Russia, number 2 military power in the world, using only financial coercion. So, why would they do that? Why don't they just send the jet? It has nothing to do with the actual jets shooting down other aircraft. They want to be able to say, look, we defeated Russia. We didn't have to fire a shot, so we don't need to spend all this money on the U.S. military anymore. We don't need it. We can defeat any country just by financially sanctioning them. And so they can take all that military spending and put it towards things like reparations and all of their pet social programs. And this is Defense News. They're even echoing this, but down here, they kind of goof. Jen Psaki. Not a good idea referring to the no-fly zone, adding President Joe Biden does not want to risk putting the United States military in conflict with Russia. What that requires implementation by the U.S. military. It would essentially mean the U.S. military would be shooting down planes, Russian planes. That is definitely escalatory. This is the kind of things that they tell kids, don't punch back at the bully. Don't punch back at the bully. That's escalatory. And then there's this idea that, if we don't enforce it, if it's a bluff, and then that would kill our credibility. But down here, John Venable, a defense policy expert from the Heritage Foundation and former F-16 pilot, quote, a no-fly zone would be a declaration of war in Russian President Vladimir Putin's mind. Now, we haven't had a no-fly zone, right? Haven't had one. This article is 1 March, Tuesday, last Tuesday. Fast forward. 5 March. Sorry about that. 5 March 2022. Putin says Western sanctions are akin to declaration of war. So he already thinks the sanctions are far worse than the no-fly zone. And they are. They absolutely are. But if we, and this is not something I'm advocating for here, I'm just explaining the thinking in the White House. They believe if they can get Putin to acquiesce or back off in any way without a single boot on the ground, without any jets, without any use of the U.S. military, they can then say, we don't need the military. Remember what Obama said about having some civilian force that was every bit as strong and every bit as powerful as the U.S. military? I think we can see now who the cancel culture army is. Because that's what they're trying to do. They're canceling Russian this, canceling Russian that, canceling, there was a opera singer who refused to come out against Putin, and they kicked her off of the opera singing tour, and they are punishing people that have nothing to do with it, Russian billionaires, anything to do with Russia, they're literally just destroying using cancel culture. This might be the army Obama was talking about. That's civilian army. And this is what they won't report to you. There are terms. Moscow's terms are simple. Ukraine, write into its constitution that it will be forever neutral, meaning it won't join NATO. Recognize Crimea as part of Russia and independence for those two easternmost republics. And those of you out there, those two easternmost republics, somebody said this, why should Ukraine give up half its territory? It's not half its territory. It's two tiny little republics way out on the eastern side. It's not even a tenth of its territory. And those territories don't want to be part of Ukraine. They want to be part of Russia. This is their goal. This is why they pulled out of Afghanistan in the way that they did. Because they truly believe their view of the world is superior to everyone else's. Which brings us back to Star Trek. Now, I know a lot of people are shaking their heads. Oh, Maquis, you watch way too much sci-fi. Go back. The plot of every single Star Trek The Next Generation episode was this. We're going to fly our superior technology starship over to this part of the galaxy where there are people who have values we don't agree with, and we're going to waggle our condescending little finger at them and explain to them why they're wrong. And if they don't acquiesce, we're going to use our superior firepower to blow them to smithereens. But we'll give them every possible chance to come around to our way of thinking. You see, this is what they want the military to be. They don't want there to be soldiers or Marines or an Air Force. They just want basically superior drone technology controlled by people sitting in perfect safety. And that's what the analogy was here in The Next Generation, that their starship was so much more technologically advanced than everybody they were trying to fix. They had nothing to fear. And this is what they would do. just fly around and pontificate about their liberal, progressive superiority. It was the plot of every single episode. And this is, I've said this before, this is what this group of people, it's exactly what they did with the 2020 sniffles. If you didn't get on board with what was coming out of Starfleet Command, so to speak, you were one of these places where they're going to have to go fly their starship and blast you out of the sky. They'll give you every opportunity to come around to the right way of thinking, and they will try all sorts of peaceful means, not understanding what the word violence is. It means to violate. And right now, I'm not seeing this guy as evil at this point. I don't think he woke up one day and said, hey, you know what would be fun? You know what would be great? Is if I could just make the entire world destroy my country and give up all of our values in the process. There's a side of this story they're not telling you. We can talk about that kind of thing, though, over at Patreon with the gloves off and just kind of lay it all out there and what the Maquis really were and who they were fighting. They've been talking about this denazification. It's absolutely right. Absolutely right. There are all sorts of things going on that are just way too suspicious. Too many people all on one side, all at once, and no opposing views allowed. No counterpoint. Just like with the 2020 sniffles. That's how you know something very, very not right is happening, when they just don't look over here. No matter what you do, don't look over here. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Thank you for thank you for everyone who joined us over at the live side earlier today. We had almost a 2-hour live event with the governor. It was absolutely amazing. For those of you who haven't checked it out, check it out. It's over at the live side. People from around the globe came together in this conference with the governor, and pretty much all on the same sheet of music, stating that we cannot let what happened in the last 2 years ever happen again, and state governments are going to have to codify certain things to make sure this never happens again. God bless. Like, share, subscribe. See you tonight on Twitch. Take care.